Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into the show. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about Mel Kiper's latest mock draft for your Minnesota Vikings, and also Dane Brugler dropped his draft guide, and it is the best in the game, so we'll be diving into that as well, and then also talking about why I think the Vikings are putting the NFL on notice this offseason. Then we'll close out today's show with a mailbag, but before we do so, want to get the live chat going. If you guys love the Minnesota Vikings, hit me with a skull down below in the comments section. Shout out to John, already in the building. Jay Barrett, Minnesota Wild fan. John Corey, Cohen B, Corey Miller, Jay Barrett, Cole Olet, Cohen B, Rockies in the building. Mark, GS, Jay, again. Shout out to you guys, for tuning in. Today is NFL Draft. We are, what's it doing? Not this upcoming weekend, not the next, but the one after that, right? Yeah. So we got 2 more weekends to go, then the draft will be here. It's going to be a very exciting time. I cannot wait. Dylan and I got a lot of fun planned for you guys, so it's going to be a hell of a time. But shout out to John Maples for tuning in. Al Berger, Cohen saying, what day is the draft? It is 24th, so it's the 24th, 25th, and 26th. That Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We will be live for all 3 days. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. You guys are going to see Dylan and I a whole lot on your YouTube page, but I'm super excited about it. But keep on getting those skulls down below in the live chat as Spencer Hogan saying Vikings need Eamon-Wari. Nick Eamon-Wari is definitely at the top of a couple of Dylan and I's favorite draft targets for the Vikings. Dylan and I were just talking about it. Dylan, you said Eamon-Wari, Kenneth Grant. Are you able to land on a third guy as your top 3 yet?
Malachi Starks could be an intriguing option if even Warriors off the board.
Definitely.
Outside of that, it could kind of be a wild card for the Vikings.
It could be. They could go any direction. Like, we'll talk about Mel Kiper's mock draft, but they did have the Vikings taking an offensive guard from Ohio State. So we'll share with you guys and all of his thoughts on that, as well as Antonio's in the building. Shout out to you. John Corey going KG. Definitely. Yeah, Kenneth Grant's been kind of falling down draft boards a little bit lately, which is great news for us Vikings fans. I would love to have him at pick number 24, even if it's a trade back option potentially. But we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out on draft night. And it's so funny as we go through this process, we can kind of pick and choose what teams – what direction they're going. But once that draft night rolls around, man, anything can happen. Anybody can trade up. Like, who's going to be the Michael Penix pick this year? Where I remember we were sitting there at pick 8, and I didn't even think the Falcons were going to consider drafting a quarterback in the top 10, and they ended up doing that. So who knows? Like, the Vikings could go wide receiver in round 1. What if they just say, screw it, we'll go running back? Like, we think Hampton's the best guy on the board. We'll just take him. It could go a whole number of different ways here on draft night. So I am very, very excited about it. Purple Papa saying, would the Vikings take the quarterback from Ohio State to have the first ever Big Ten champs back-to-back? Taking Will Howard, probably taking him in the 5th, 6th round. Maybe. I mean, probably not, but that'll be an interesting play by the Minnesota Vikings. I hope they just kind of try to load up the rest of their roster there. But let me ask you guys this, and expect to see a whole lot of 9s here. But I was sitting on a hot take about the NFC North and the NFL as a whole. I think after this season, the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFC North are going to be these 2 guys you see up on screen right here. And I think, one, Caleb Williams has the talent to take that Bears team to the next level. I am a Caleb Williams believer. Hurts me to say, but I think he's got all types of talent. He's got a wicked arm. And I think we could be looking back at the end of next season, and we're saying, oh, Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy are the 2 best quarterbacks in the division. Then it's Jared Goff and then Jordan Love. I think that's going to be the hot take I'm going to roll with. And also, I think the Vikings and Bears, I think they're going to be the 2 best teams in the NFC North this upcoming year. I think the Lions are going to come back to reality a little bit. The more I think about it, it's still got a loaded roster, all types of offensive talent, great offensive line. But I just think we can't underreact to them losing both Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. But you guys let me know who would be better in 2025. Give me an 18 for Caleb Williams, or give me a 9 for J.J. McCarthy. Is Purple Papa saying optimistic on 9. Cohen B saying Jordan Love, most overrated in the league, 100%. He's going to be the worst in the NFC North. Yeah, maybe it's a little wishful thinking on my end, but I just thought we were going to see more pop from Jordan Love this past season because he did sit for 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers, was great in his rookie year, especially in the second half of that season, but we really didn't see that next step from him. And could that come this upcoming year? 100%. I'm going to bank on it doesn't, and I think those two guys right there, Caleb and JJ, will be the top 2 QBs in the NFC North. As Purple Rain saying 9, Scott Vetch saying 9, remember saying JJ to JJ, can't wait for it. Yeah, Kevin O'Connell, obviously you're not going to script your games around this. He should have the first touchdown JJ throws go to Justin Jefferson. Whatever your automatic play is where you can scheme open number 18, you have that be the first touchdown of the season. That would be electric. Cohen Bia said, I heard McCarthy can still run for the Rookie of the Year. Is that true? I don't believe so. I think that's only in the NBA. Yeah, I think that's only NBA where if you miss your rookie year due to injury or whatever it may be and you don't play a certain amount of games, then you could be eligible. Because that was the Ben Simmons. Yeah, Ben Simmons had that a couple of years ago, or actually a while ago now. He could get comeback player. Yeah, since he's coming off injury. Like Darnold, he kind of got screwed out of the comeback player of the year award just because they said, like, you can't come back from being a bad quarterback. That was, the change they wanted to make. But pretty interesting there. But we'll dive into more here around the Minnesota Vikings here in a second. But first off, I want to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsors, and one of them is Game Time. Now, if you guys want to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account and redeem the code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Got that link for you guys in the description of today's show. But go give Game Time a look. #1 ticket purchasing app out there. Now, I also want to give a massive shout out to another sponsor we have. And that's Factor Meals. Now, get started at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off and use code VikingsChat50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code VikingsChat50 off at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. Now, make this your best season yet with Factor. And they have 2-minute meals straight from Factor where eating well has never been this easy. All you do is just heat up and enjoy, giving you more time to do what you want. So get started at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off and use code VikingsChat50 off to get 50% off free shipping on your first box. That's code VikingsChat50 off at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. All right, let me ask you guys this. With the draft just around the corner, who is the best Vikings draft pick of all time? I was saying it was Randy Moss, pick 21. I think that's probably it. You can also make an argument for Justin Jefferson. I know a bunch of the older Vikings fans that were answering this were saying Fran Tarkenton's up there as well. I was trying to think of a 5th or a 6th round guy that was the best. Like, honestly, Stephon Diggs has to be up there. 5th rounder out of Maryland. Nobody would have expected him to turn out the way he did. Adrian Peterson, yeah, AP's got to be up there as well. Because what did he go in the draft? AP was 7th overall. Yeah, John Randall undrafted. I was getting that a lot. Harrison Smith, Rodgers, Fran the Man coming in from Purple Rain. Adam Thielen, I'm just trying to think of a 5th or a 6th round guy that was drafted that completely overperformed his draft stock that he had. And I think Diggs is up there. 5th round pick coming from Maryland. Nobody expected him to be as good as he was. John Randall, Adam Thielen, those guys are both UDFA, so I don't know if I consider both those guys as the best draft picks possible, but how about the $100 man, Chris Carter? Yeah, Carter would be up there too. I'm trying to think more recently. We really haven't had any good drafts recently. Yeah, Jefferson's probably the best one. Pick 22. Still can't believe the Eagles took Rager. Pick ahead of him. Laquan Treadwell. Yeah, you guys can also let me know who's the worst Vikings draft pick of all time. I've never been more wrong, Dylan, about a Vikings draft pick than Laquan Treadwell. I thought that guy was going to be the next, just star wide receiver in Minnesota, and I was completely wrong. Was there a draft pick, Dylan, and this doesn't have to be Vikings related, where it was there was no chance he fails in the NFL, and then he ended up failing.
Corey Davis.
Corey Davis was your guy? Yeah,
Yeah.
Corey Davis was sweet.
Western Michigan. Everyone thought he was going to like be the next big thing, and then
Yep.
he goes to the Titans, does absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Goes to the Jets, thinking it's going to be a revival. Nothing there also.
And also, it was like consensus too with Davis was like, this guy's legit. He's gonna be awesome. That's a good one. Xavier Rhodes, legend. Love Xavier Rhodes, man. Garrett Bradbury was a terrible pick. Lewis Seen was a terrible pick. Christian Ponder's up there, obviously. Hunter, who'd you say? Jeff Gladney. Yeah, that ended up not working out. Mike Hughes was also a bad pick. He was a first rounder. Andrew Booth in the second. That was a bad pick. Ed Ingram in the second. That was a bad pick. Corey Miller getting a question in there. We appreciate you. But yeah, you guys let me know, who's the best Vikings draft pick of all time? I'm going to go Justin Jefferson or Randy Moss. I mean, I think Jefferson's going to be a top 10 receiver, if not a top 5 receiver of all time when it's all said and done. So I'll either go the two best wide receivers in Vikings history. Hopefully none of the old heads get upset with me for saying Jefferson's better than Chris Carter, but I think you guys could all agree on that. But hey, if you guys got a question for me, I got answers. We got a mailbag coming up here in about 30, 40 minutes or so. So if you guys want to get a question down in the live chat, hashtag Vikings, or if you guys want to support the show, just hit that dollar icon at the bottom of the live chat right now, and you guys can send a super chat. It will guarantee your spot on today's mailbag. Just get those questions in there. Hashtag Vikings. Your name, profile pic will be up on screen next to me, and we'll break down everything you got to say. And then also, coming up on today's show, Mel Kiper dropped his final mock draft before the 2025 NFL draft. He had an interesting pick for the Vikings. He did a 2-round mock, but obviously with the Vikings only having picked 24 and 97 in the top 100, we'll go over his pick. Also talk about the Dane Brugler big board. And then we also got a little Vikings hype segment as why I think them making some fundamental changes, I think it could lead to better results, specifically later on in the year. So explain my thoughts there. Then, like I said, we will be getting into a mailbag. So hashtag Vikings. Appreciate you, Harvey Buxton. Shout out to you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Oh yeah, Corey. We will talk about it. I'll give you my thoughts on that. Purple Papa, thanks for getting a question in there. Same with Cohen B. We appreciate you, man. But if you guys are ready to roll with me, if you guys could, hit that thumbs up icon. We got 80 people in the building right now. Once we get the 40 likes, we'll start today's show. Just need 13 more likes. I'd appreciate it. It helps us get the stream out to more and more Vikings fans. You guys know the whole spiel here. So help us out. Hit that thumbs up icon. Like today's video. If you guys could, helps us out a lot. And David Cushmore coming in with a $5 super chat. We appreciate you. Minnesota Wild fan, thanks for getting a question in there. Michael saying flops, I agree. Treadwell and Ponder. Yeah, both of them were not good decisions by the Vikings front office at that time. But John Corey asking a question about Darrisaw. We appreciate you. John saying, how's Darrisaw rehab going? Everything we're hearing, it's going well. We should be ready to roll for week 1. David Cushmore, what's going on, man? Appreciate you for supporting the show. Do you think Randy Moss is in the top 5 picks for the Vikings? Yeah, 100%. I think if you had to power rank them, I think Moss might be closer to the 1 than he is the 5, if I'm being honest. But, I mean, the man's the second greatest receiver of all time. I personally think he's number 1, but you got to give respect to Jerry Rice. Dude's put up ridiculous numbers. But in terms of just pure receiver, I think Randy's definitely up there. And could you imagine if Randy Moss played in the social media era that we live in right now? I mean, he would be must-watch, Twitter highlights every single night after he played. As Southern Trent Kill saying, don't ever bring up Christian Ponder again. No, is that going to be your thing? We're not allowed to say Ponder this year. Just like a couple of weeks ago, I said nobody's allowed to say the name Aaron Rodgers, which hopefully Rodgers signs with the Steelers today, so that can kind of be the nail in the coffin of JJ being the starting quarterback for the Vikes. But David Cushmore, I agree with you. Randy Moss, definitely a top 5 pick. Actually, not just for the Vikings, could possibly be all time. I mean, you got him in the 20s. It was an absolute steal. Got one of the best football players to ever touch that grass in NFL history. So, yeah, definitely agree with you there. But, hey, we just crossed over 41 likes. Shout out to you guys. That's why you guys are the best fans in the world. As Mix 256 saying, I delivered pizza to John Randall. Dude's the best. That's awesome. I wish I got to experience that, man. Mix, was that when he was playing or is that right now? Because I'm pretty sure Randall's still in the Minneapolis area. Cohen B saying, what's it going to cost for us to trade for Cousins again? I don't know if the Vikings want that. Now, if the Falcons agree to take on most of his contract, but I don't think they would. And if they were going to take on most of his contract, they'd probably want a higher draft pick, like a third rounder. So I don't know if that's in the cards. I think it's going to be Flacco a couple days after the draft. That's where I think the Vikes will go with the backup quarterback. It's Purple Papa saying no Kirk. SMH, yeah. We are, I think we're moving past the Kirk Cousins talk. I think he'll probably end up in Cleveland. He's actually at a Chipotle in Cleveland the other week. It's pretty funny. Appreciate you guys getting those questions in there from Brown Man, Remember, Montana, Pro Fox saying no, we don't need Kirk. Yeah, I think we're all right. I think we're all right on Kirk Cousins returning. It would be pretty damn funny, though. Like, just for the memes and for the jokes on Twitter and, you said what? For the Netflix, because, and that's for this upcoming season, right? I wouldn't hate that, Dylan. I wouldn't hate that. Cousins was electric in that Netflix show. Just a typical dad. Like, that's the thing I always respected out of Kirk. Like, whether that's your own dad or like a dad you're going over to like one of your buddy's house, like Kirk Cousins was just that. Like, he was just a regular dude. And just even like hearing like him and his wife talk about like how they go to Kohl's casually. Like, could you imagine you're at the local Kohl's in Minneapolis and you see Kirk Cousins and his wife walk in? It would be hilarious. Remember saying Teddy needs to come back. I know Teddy Bridgewater would be great for the vibes. It would be great for the morale of the team. Alrighty, well, we're at 44 likes right now. I said we dive into the Mel Kiper's final mock draft. Of Southern Trent Kill saying Kirk's wife was smoking. That's funny stuff, man. That's funny stuff. Kirk Cousins high school choir highlights are fire. Cohen B. That's 100%. Dylan, have you seen those? He can sing a little bit. There's a hilarious video of him in high school in Holland, Michigan. He's like leading this. It's not like a choir. It's kind of like almost felt like a boy band. It was hysterical though. One of a kind, man. If I could pick a quarterback to win a Super Bowl with, like not JJ McCarthy, but all the past quarterbacks, like it would probably be Kirk Cousins number 1, Teddy Bridgewater number 2. Like, how funny would it have been if the Minnesota Vikings, the team that has just been cursed the entire franchise's history, if they won a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins under center? We'll see, though. We'll see. All righty. 3 likes away from 50. If you guys could, hit that thumbs up icon. Let's talk about Mel Kiper's final mock draft and Dane Brugler's draft guide. A lot of information in this video, so stay tuned for the entire thing. You guys are going to learn a lot. We're going to kind of deep dive into these top NFL draft analysts and understand what they think the Vikings are going to go do with the draft only a couple weeks away. So if you guys are ready to roll, hit that thumbs up icon and also give me a skull down below in the live chat, and let's dive into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we're going to be diving into Mel Kiper's final 2025 mock draft, where he had a very interesting pick for the Minnesota Vikings, so stay tuned for that. And then also Dane Brugler, one of the best NFL draft analysts in the game, just dropped his beast of a draft guide, and it's awesome. So we're kind of connecting what he had to say about some of the top Vikings draft targets. You're going to get a lot of information on today's show, so stay tuned throughout the entire thing. But before we do so, if you guys could, hit that subscribe button, because I got great news for all of you guys watching today's show. We're going to be going live for the entire 2025 NFL Draft. It's going to be a long 3 days. It's just going to be me, producer Dylan, hanging out with you guys. So if you guys could, hit that subscribe button, lock us in. Maybe we could reach 56,000 subs by the time the draft rolls around. I think we could. So if you guys are new here, haven't hit that sub button already, go down there and click that sub button today. All right, so Mel Kiper dropped a 2-round mock draft, but with the Vikings only having 4 picks, we only get to talk about one of their 4 draft picks today and what Mel Kiper had them doing. But as we know, Vikings, least amount of draft capital in the league. You got round 1, pick 24, round 3, 97, round 5, 139, and round 6, 187. But speaking about that first round pick, at pick number 24, Mel Kiper had the Vikings drafting offensive guard Donovan Jackson. I will give credit to Mel Kiper. I have not seen any mock drafts that have came out that have had the Vikings drafting the Ohio State guard Donovan Jackson. Now, he's got a ton of versatility. He played some offensive tackle with Ohio State, bumped in the guard after an injury to one of his teammates this past season, and he was pretty damn good. But this is what Mel Kiper had to say on his reasoning for having the Vikings drafting Donovan Jackson. Say Minnesota signed guard Will Fries and center Ryan Kelly away from the Colts. It's a big improvement on their interior offensive line. Let's take it a step further. Jackson would replace Blake Brandel at the other guard spot, and he has the versatility to kick outside if needed. He did so this past season when Josh Simmons got hurt for Ohio State. This seems relevant given left tackle Christian Darrisaw is recovering from a left knee injury. Jackson is a plug-and-play interior blocker with great agility and technique. He allowed 4 sacks over 40 starts. The Vikings do not have a second-round pick, but they could find a solid cornerback at the end of round 3. And I also agree with that. I think there is some value at the end of round 3 at the cornerback position. But here's how the Vikings offensive line could potentially look with Donovan Jackson sliding in there at the left guard spot. I mean, this is a top 5 unit in the league. Just call a spade here. You got the 2 tackle positions solidified. Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill, assuming Darrisaw will be all good to go once week 1 rolls around. But then you also got Donovan Jackson at the left guard spot. I mean, if he ends up play him next to Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, it'd be special. And also with Donovan Jackson, if he is going to play next to Christian Darrisaw and Ryan Kelly, even if he is maybe not the prospect or like maybe he doesn't hit his ceiling, I guess I want to say, as a guard, I just think his natural play will be elevated playing next to other good offensive linemen. I mean, that's just naturally how it works here. But here are his PFF grades from this past season: 71.8 overall grade, 70 flat in the pass block, 70.3 in the run block, allowed 2 sacks, and also 2 penalties on the year. But this guy's a freak athlete, man. Comes in at 6'3", 315 pounds, 32.5-inch vertical jump. For some reason, I'm addicted to seeing big offensive linemen have good vertical jumps. I just think it's crazy to see. And then also bench press. Had him at 32 reps as well of 225. And then he had a solid broad jump as well. But so Dane Brugler, he has Donovan Jackson actually listed as an offensive tackle. He talked about how he likes his tape more at the tackle position. And he actually had him as a 6th rated offensive tackle, 2nd round grade on him. So I would prefer him at the offensive guard spot. But again, it kind of speaks to his versatility, where if like Brian O'Neill or, Christian Darrisaw has to miss a game or 2, it's a simple switch where it's just like, okay, Donovan Jackson, Blake Brandel, both have experience at the offensive tackle spot. Then you can just shift, whoever it may be into that left guard if one of the tackles were to have to go down. But I think the Donovan Jackson pick, and frankly any offensive guard that the Vikings take in round 1, whether that's Tyler Booker, Gray Zabel, whoever it may be, I think it would just be the cherry on the top for the Vikings offense, because you need to add another running back next to Aaron Jones. You got that in Jordan Mason. You needed to solidify the interior of the offensive line. You did that with Ryan Kelly and Will Fries. Then if you'd add Donovan Jackson there, I mean, you look at the whole team offensively. Like, you got a great play caller. You got this amazing plethora of weapons on the perimeter. I mean, Justin Jefferson, don't need to say much about him. Guy's an absolute stud, best wide receiver in the National Football League. Then Jordan Addison, one of the best wide receiver 2s you could have. And then you also got Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, love that 1-2 punch. And TJ Hawkinson having a full offseason where he doesn't have to recover coming off that torn ACL. I think he's going to have a better year. But with all that being said, it all comes down to our sweet prince, J.J. McCarthy. And I hate putting pressure like this on him, but it truly does come down to the right arm of McCarthy. Like, if he is a top 10 quarterback right away from day 1, I think he's got the possibility to do so. Vikings will have a top 3 offense. You're going to have a top 3, if not a top 5 defense, bare minimum this upcoming year. But if you want this offense to hit that next level, it's going to have to be all because of J.J. McCarthy. And I got full faith in him. Like, I think that's a great spot where the Vikings are saying, yeah, we got a great coach. We got a great support system. We just need our first round, 10th overall pick quarterback to play well, and we'll be a very successful football team. So I want you guys to get down in the comments right now. Be the teacher for me real quick. Grade the pick of Donovan Jackson. If I had to give my letter grade, I really, really do like this pick. I don't know if I love the pick. I'd probably have to give it a, I was going to say B minus B. I'll give it a B. I think this would be a solid pick for the Vikings. Nothing to write home about, but still a very good pickup. So I'll give it a B. But you guys let me know. Grade the pick of Donovan Jackson down below. Now, coming up next here on the program, we're going to dive into Dane Brugler's NFL Draft Guide. It is fantastic. A lot of great information out there, and also a cool little story about J.J. McCarthy that we'll share with you guys here in a second. But before we do so, got to give a massive shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is Game Time. Now, if you guys want to take the guesswork out of buying tickets, do so with Game Time. Now, download the Game Time app, create an account, and plug in that promo code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account. Redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is Game Time. Now, Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff, showing you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Now, if you guys are trying to go to a Minnesota Timberwolves playoff game, Minnesota Wild game in the next couple of weeks, Game Time is the number one way to do so. Or even with the Twins, just had their home opener a couple of days ago. If you guys want to go check out the Twins live in action, Game Time is the number one way to do so. My favorite feature is the all-in pricing. If you toggle this feature, it shows you the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. And also, they have a views from your seat feature, which gets you a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you even buy. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It is Game Time. Shout out to Game Time for sponsoring today's show. Got that link for you guys in the comment section and description of today's program, or of today's show. All right, so we're going to dive into the Dane Brugler's mock draft guide here in a second. But first off, I want to go over my favorite piece of last year's Dane Brugler draft guide, and it was a big reason why I was such a fan of the Vikings drafting J.J. McCarthy, because I think playing the quarterback position, a lot of it is intangibles. So you guys check out this quote here. So this is coming in from Dane Brugler saying, before J.J. McCarthy signed, he was telling other Michigan recruits that if they wanted to party and chase girls, go somewhere else. His class was going to be the one that restored Michigan to have that mentality and to actually go achieve it. He's different. When I saw this, you know what's so funny about this? When I saw him say that, I wasn't even that shocked. Like, I knew that about him. But the fact that he was telling other recruits, being like, yo, you're on the football team in college. You can have girls throwing themselves at you left and right. It's just natural. It's how the college lifestyle is. But JJ was telling his other, future teammates, be like, if that's why you're getting into this, if that's why you want to come to Michigan, go somewhere else. We're going to be all about business. We're going to be all about football. And I thought Dane made a good point there where he was saying, like, the fact that he went out there and actually did it, it's just different. So let's quickly fly through 5 draft targets in round 1 for the Minnesota Vikings. And I'll tell you guys what Dane Brugler had to say about him. We're going to start off with the South Carolina safety, DK Metcalf of the secondary, Nick Eamon-Warry. This guy's a freak, 6'3", 225 pounds. Freak athlete, man. Ran a ridiculous 40 time, 4.38. And Dane Brugler was going over, scouting reports for each of these prospects, and this is what he had for Eamon-Warry. He obviously acknowledged freaky athlete. I mean, there is no doubt that he will probably be the best athlete in this year's draft. And he also had elite production. Like, listen, if he didn't have elite production and he was a freaky athlete, I would be a little more hesitant on drafting him. But the fact that the production was so good, you match that up with just a natural athletic ability, it's definitely an encouraging sign here. But he's also a very versatile player. We know Brian Flores would put him all over the map. He does have some inconsistency in terms of him as a post-snap player. And I think Brugler's trying to get at, like, once the offense makes their adjustments and the play is after the snap, sometimes he can get lost in coverage and he can be over-aggressive in spots. But I think these two last things are mainly coaching things. Like, this is where I think Flores could come in and just completely sandpaper his game. So I like that scouting report for our man Eamon-Warry. But how about Kenneth Grant from Michigan here? Freak athlete, again, from the interior. The guy can move so well at his size. And It was funny. I was watching the Ohio State-Michigan game from this past season, and I remember seeing Kenneth Grant just hunt down a running back, run down the sideline. And I was like, man, who is that? And I started looking into him, and I was like, oh, shit. Maybe the Vikings could draft him next season, and maybe they will. But this is what Brugler had to say on Kenneth Grant, saying a dominant run presence. Grant is a powerful boulder who can execute two-gap techniques or single-stack blocks and work down the line with quickness. He looks to fire off the ball, although his tall pads will negate his leverage and lower body strength, diminishing his bull rush and limiting the ways in which he can impact a quarterback. Overall, Grant plays big in a big man's game, but he also has the athletic traits and effort to grow into more than just a stout run stopper. He projects as an early down NFL starter with 3-down upside. And listen, Kenneth Grant is still my favorite Vikings trade back draft target, where if you guys have noticed, go look at some mock drafts recently. Like even the Mel Kiper one we were talking about, he fell to the 40s. Like if that's happening on draft night, oh my God, Vikings, you trade back with the Chiefs or the Bills. They're trying to go get a guy. You say, yeah, we'll close out the end of the first round. We'll go draft Kenneth Grant. I think that would be a home run pick for the Minnesota Vikings. But next up here, Tyler Booker, offensive guard from Bama. J.J. McCarthy's former teammate when he was at IMG. Cool photo of those two dapping each other up after the Rose Bowl a couple years ago, and Tyler Booker was just like, hey, JJ, go win that whole thing. But here's some strengths for him. He's got physically imposing size. He's 6'4", 326 pounds. I love that. And his tape is very repeatable. Like, he's a very consistent player. He's got really strong, heavy hands. He bends very well, and he's got a great mentality. I remember it was at the scouting combine. I think it was actually our very own Marshall Green. Shout out to you. He said that Tyler Booker said that he makes people fall out of love with the game of football. Love that mentality from an offensive lineman. But some weaknesses here. He's not a dynamic athlete. Like, he's not a freak, like, zone pulling guard, which I don't know if he's the best scheme fit with what O'Connell likes to do, but he could be a little more aggressive. Hands can get caught on the outside, which could lead to some penalties at the next level, hence why he did have 7 penalties in 2024. But Tyler Booker, I still think he would be a good pick for the Vikes. How about another defensive tackle here that we all are very, very well aware of? Derek Harmon, defensive tackle out of Oregon. This guy's a monster, and Dane Brugler actually had him as his second-rated defensive tackle ahead of Kenneth Grant in his draft guide. But this is what he said. A player who can win in different ways. Harmon forces blockers to attack air with his lateral explosiveness or uses strong, crafty hands to swat away the reach of blockers as he bursts through gaps to close on the ball carrier. Though he led FBS interior linemen in pressures, he also led the position in missed tackles. Even the smallest improvements in his backfield finishing ability would have resulted in double-digit sacks. Overall, Harmon is highly active and disruptive big man who can consistently find ways to gain freedom from blocks as a penetrating pass rusher and run stuffer. He projects as a scheme-diverse NFL starter anywhere from 1 to 5 tech. And listen, production was there. I mean, the man had 55 pressures this past season. Would I like to see the sack number a little higher? 100%. Shout out to John Gruden for this one, but nobody cares about pressures. Get to the damn quarterback. Get him on the ground. But I think that could just be something that he naturally develops throughout his game. And I think, again, he would be an awesome pick for the Vikings at 24. But let's talk about a little blockbuster pick here. Somebody who I don't think is going to be on the board at 24. Somebody who I think is a true top 12 player in this year's class, and that's Colston Loveland. Now, listen, I would be all in on trading TJ Hawkinson if it meant you could land Loveland. Like, if you could somehow trade Hawk, let's just say you take a first-round pick, TJ Hawkinson, move up to like 16, 17, and you go land Loveland, I think that would be a steal. 6'5", reminds me of Travis Kelce. Like, his wiggle, his bend on routes, he's got great hands, has that connection with J.J. McCarthy. I would love it, but this is what Brugler had to say. With his speed and ball skills, Loveland can line up anywhere on the field and wins a quarterback-friendly, multi-level receiving threat. He isn't a liability as a one-pop, get-in-the-way blocker, but will struggle to sustain or control NFL edge defenders. Overall, Loveland doesn't have the skills set up for full-time inline responsibilities, but his dynamic movements, natural hands, and football awareness should make him one of the primary targets in an NFL offense. His tools and upside are reminiscent of Zach Ertz. And Zach Ertz still had a great year for the Commanders this past season. And listen, I would love to see the McCarthy-Loveland connection in the purple and gold again. Like, obviously, the Vikings have been supporting J.J. McCarthy very well this offseason. Got him 2 new interior offensive linemen. You got him another running back. But if you would go put the icing on the cake and go get him his college tight end, who he had a great connection with, I would be a massive fan of this pick. But if you guys had to pick, who is your dream Vikings draft target? You guys let me know your thoughts down below. If I had to give mine, I think it's still Nick Eamon Warrior, Kenneth Grant. Somehow, if it could be Colson Loveland, I would do it. But we appreciate you guys watching today's show. See you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes. Alrighty. What's going on, guys? What's up, Ty Man the Buckeye? Thank you so much for tuning in. Utah Meek, shout out to you, Brody. Lee Hefner saying Eamon Warrior. You guys let me know, though, who is your dream Vikings draft target for this upcoming season? Who's a better safety, Eamon Warrior, Starks? It's tough. Definitely depends on what you want. Starks is probably more polished. Yeah, Eamon Warrior. Like, that's the thing is with Eamon Warrior. It's not like he is just it's not like he's just a great athlete. Because there are great athletes in the NFL that don't work out. But, like, Eamon Warrior would step on every football field immediately and be the best athlete. Like, you feel him like a DK Metcalf. In terms of better raw football player, though, I think it is Starks. But in terms of upside, I would probably have to go Eamon Warrior. Starks could be like a Brian Branch, even though Branch plays more corner now. Could be that, too, as just a versatile safety. Adriano saying, would you be mad if we got Jahdae Barron? Absolutely not. I think Barron would be an awesome pick. I just don't think he's going to 24. I think he'll probably get picked up in the top 15. And Mac, what's going on, Brody? Saying Zabel, Siobhan Ravel, or Trey Amos. Down for all of those. Trey Amos would be a great trade back option as well. That's why we're like, there's so much, I don't want to say like great talent from picks 20 to 50, but like I feel like that's a sweet spot of the draft. Where like the guy you get at 24 is probably not that different from the guy you're going to get at like 34. So I think the Vikings will end up trading back. I could see us being live for round 1 and all of us hoping the Vikings make a pick, and then at the buzzer they trade out of it. But we'll see. We'll see. I really like Quincy Riley. He's a Louisville guy. He's solid. He could be a late round 3 pick as well for the Vikes. 23 years old, 6 foot, 195 pounds. I know J.C. Horn would have been awesome for the Vikes. But we are going to get into a mailbag here in about 15, 20 minutes or so. So if you guys got a question for me, use hashtag Vikings in the live chat. Or if you guys want to super chat and support the show, it's another great way to do so. But we got a little hype segment coming up for you guys here. I'm excited to dive into it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Talk about why the Vikings put the NFL on notice. And also, I'm going to be calling out a lot of your guys' YouTube comments. So wait for that. It's going to be a fun little chop-up session here. But, hey, I say if you guys are ready to roll, Dylan, if you're ready, we can just dive on into this thing. Let's do it. The Minnesota Vikings putting the entire NFL on notice this offseason. We're going to talk about it. Welcome into Vikings Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Patrick Siepman, and coming up, we discuss why the Vikings are putting the NFL on notice this offseason. Stay tuned for that. And then also, end of the show. I cannot wait to do this, and we're going to do this a whole lot more here on the channel. I'm going to react to your YouTube comments. So if you guys have commented on a video over the last couple of days, stay tuned because there are some negative comments, there's some positive comments, and I just want to react, have a good time with this. So if you guys could, stay tuned for that. But before we dive into it, if you guys could, hit that thumbs up icon because right before I hopped in the studio today, my bosses here at Chat Sports challenged us Vikings fans to hit 750 likes on today's show. If you guys want to help me out, help me avoid an awkward meeting with my bosses where they're saying, why didn't you get 750 likes? It'd be nice of you guys to go down there, hit that thumbs up icon. Maybe we could blow this out of the water and hit 1,000 likes on today's show. So what's the message the Vikings are sending to the rest of the NFL? Well, I think the Vikings sent a message that they will be a more physical football team next season. Now, that has been my biggest gripe with Kevin O'Connell. They have been a very good football team, but I think the reason why they aren't a great football team is because they haven't been the most physical football team. I think the Vikings made some physical free agent signings, like Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen on that defensive line. Both those dudes love to get after it, physical, aggressive, tenacious football players, and the same thing on the offensive side of the football. Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, they love to beat you up. They're physical guys as well. And, you know, I think it can sometimes be hard to create a physical culture. But my take on it is, how do you create a physical culture? You add physical football players. I think it can be as simple as that. Like Dan Campbell, a different example. Dan Campbell, no matter who he has on his team, that team will be a physical football team. But I don't think that's in Kevin O'Connell's DNA, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like Sean McVay, is he the most physical football coach? Like, is he a physically imposing guy? No, but those Rams team that went on runs, they were physical football teams. So how do you create a physical culture? You add physical players, and the Vikings need to, because I think a great indication on how physical a football team is how well can you run the football. And the Vikings haven't been able to do that under KOC. Back in 2022, with Dalvin Cook manning that unit, 97 rush yards per game. That was 27th. And then it got worse in 2023, 91 yards per game. Then this past season, a whole lot better, 108.9 yards per game, but still 19th in the league. That needs to be top 10 this upcoming season. And, I think the main reason why the Vikings collapsed during the last two games was because they don't play playoff football. Because if you look at the NFC here, you're probably going to have to travel to a cold outdoor stadium at some point in the playoffs, whether that's Washington, whether that's Philadelphia, which they'll be there. You're going to have to go travel, and teams that travel are normally physical football teams. When you're playing in those tough conditions, you got to be able to run the football. You got to be able to get after the quarterback. And I felt like the Vikings over this past couple of years, it was almost like they were, too much of a finesse and too much of like a schemy football team. It's probably not the right word for it, but they just tried to outsmart you instead of trying to kick your ass out there on the football field every Sunday. But I think this is just another addition to the Super Bowl checklist, because they have a stacked roster that's undisputed. They got a top-tier coaching staff. That's undisputed. I think J.J. McCarthy is going to be a stud. It's probably the biggest question mark on this team to most people, but I thought the biggest question mark about this team heading into next season was the physicality, and I think they changed that this past year. They already have a winning culture. Kevin O'Connell has instilled that within this whole organization. So you check off all these boxes, and you added physical football players, potentially got a Super Bowl team on your hands if that guy right there, J.J. McCarthy, plays some good ball. But even if you're looking at the past NFC champions, like the Eagles, this past season, one of the most physical football teams of all time. The Niners the year before that, they were a physical football team. And, they had physical players. And the Eagles before that, physical football team. And then even that Rams team, even though they were carried by, the mind of Sean McVay, the arm of Stafford, Cooper Kupp, they still had Aaron Donald, Von Miller, a physical offensive line. Remember that Bucs team, they kicked the Chiefs' ass in the Super Bowl because they were able to get to the quarterback. And it's kind of my whole point here. You look at the 5 past NFC champions. They are all physical football teams. I think that's like having a bullpen in baseball. You got to have it. You got to have a closer in the NBA. It's all the same kind of bucket of like what you need to go be a true Super Bowl team. But what say you on this one? Will the Vikings be considered a physical team next season? Like when it's all said and done, the season's over. Will people be like, man, you don't want to play the Vikings any given week? You guys let me know. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no down below in the comments section. Now, coming up next here, I'm going to be reacting to your YouTube comments that you guys have left on the show over the last couple of weeks. Super excited to dive into this. But before we do so, I do want to give a massive shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is Factor Meals. Now, get started at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off and use code VikingsChat50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code VikingsChat50off at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50off for 50% off plus free shipping. Now, make this season the best yet with 2-minute meals from Factor. Eating well has never been this easy. Just heat up and enjoy, giving you more time to do what you want. Get outside instead of prepping and cooking indoors. Factor meals arrive fresh and ready to eat, and it's perfect for any active lifestyle. Covering the Vikings here at Chat Sports, we work a lot of long days here, and sometimes I don't always feel like cooking up a full-blown home-cooked meal when I get off work, and that's where Factors came in and has completely changed my life. I love the black and salmon. I love the Texas cheddar burger that you guys see on screen right now. It's absolutely delicious. But Factor powers your day with satisfying breakfast, on-the-go lunches, premium dinners, and guilt-free snacks and desserts. It's easy to savor more this spring. Factor meals pack in the flavor with none of the fuss. So get started at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off. Use promo code VikingsChat50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code VikingsChat50 off at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 off for 50% off plus free shipping. Link for that in the comment section and description of today's show. All right, let's dive into it. Just want to fly through some of your guys' YouTube comments here. First one coming in from Kenty. We've got your guys' like URL name in there, but this was talking about a video where I was saying JJ McCarthy has that it factor, and I actually got a lot of love in the comment section and saying I agree. JJ McCarthy has that it factor. I can see it on him, and that's a big reason why I'm a fan of him. Like, he's got this Joe Burrow, Joe coolness to him, and he's also just at his core a really good guy. Like what he's been doing in the city of Minneapolis, handing out pizzas to homeless people, buying them tents, giving out flowers at retirement homes. Like, he checks all the boxes of what ideally you would want your franchise quarterback to be, and I think that speaks to that it factor. And especially, we showed that one stat the other day where it was like 3rd and 7+ in college. J.J. McCarthy was one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and those are like the money downs. Those are when like it's true NFL-esque passing downs. J.J. was one of the best in all of college football. But we move on here to my man Brian saying, I feel all of these experts will eat their prediction skull. I think that was a video of us talking about like what guys like Colin Cowherd had to say about the Vikings, and I agree with you. But also, my message to you guys, it's only going to get worse after the draft, because once the Bears, if they take Ashton Genty or whoever they'll take, people will be calling the Bears like the biggest winners of the offseason. I'm sure if the Packers and Lions have a good pick, they'll be hyping all of them up. Vikings won't get talked about, and honestly, that's the way I like it. I don't want the Vikings to be an interesting football team to the national media. Stay quiet, because a quiet offseason, you know what that means? It means for success during the regular season. But we move on here to my man Phoenix Smith saying, I don't know if I can ever say this about a Minnesota Vikings head coach, but I have 100% faith in KOC. He's a great guy who knows how to call the right plays for the right situation. And the faith he shows in all of his players at every position makes a Super Bowl team within 5 years. And that's the first time I felt this way about my Minnesota Vikings. Like KOC, I have complete faith in number 9, JJ. Phoenix, that comment just fired me the hell up. That's why I want to include it on today's show. But, yeah, I mean, I got faith in Kevin O'Connell. We'll see if the playoff results come over the next couple of years. But if we go the next, 2 or 3 years without a playoff win, I get a feeling that conversation is going to start to shift a little bit, but I don't think it will. I think the Vikings win multiple playoff games over the next couple of years with KOC and JJ. Next one coming in from Paul saying, I think the Vikings finally did in the offseason what I would have done. Not spending everything on no elite quarterback and give JJ a chance. Although I hope they get a solid mentoring backup, probably not Rodgers because he's not into not starting. I like the way they let Sam Darnold go because, honestly, those last 2 games showed he was good for the regular season, but not the promised land caliber dude. Don't need another Cousins. They're heading in the right direction and should be in good shape, arguably, for the toughest division in the NFL. And the reason I chose this was because I want to show some love to Vikings fans. Very intelligent fan base here. Like, I feel like all of us were kind of on the same boat. Like, there's maybe 1 or 2% of fans who wanted Sam Darnold back, 1% of fans who wanted Aaron Rodgers. But I just like that we were all kind of rallying around J.J. McCarthy, so I appreciate that comment, Paul. Now for some negative comments. Here we go. This was on a mailbag where we were talking about trading Jordan Addison, and you guys were not a fan of it whatsoever. Tim Hill's coming in saying, this year's first and Addison, no frickin' way. I was talking about trading for Sauce Gardner. In that video, you guys were not a big fan of that idea. And listen, I'm not a fan of trading Jordan Addison at all. The man's just a really, really good football player. I just think Sauce Gardner is a great football player. I think he's Hall of Fame, HOF caliber. But I don't blame you guys for getting on me for talking about trading Jordan Addison here. Next one coming in saying, my biggest thing I'm excited for is, 1, to see how JJ is as our quarterback. 2, see our offensive line. And final, that D-line is crazy. Oh, my God, I cannot wait to see us play in September. I think with everything I'm hoping for, 12-5, it is all up to JJ, though, if he's good. I'm with you, man. It's all going to come down to JJ McCarthy. Is he the guy? If he is, this would be a very successful 2025 season for the Minnesota Vikings. We'll just have to wait and see. Next one, coming in from actually a longtime commenter here, Tim, saying, dude, people are going to unsubscribe if you don't stop saying we are trading Jordan Addison. I have never said we are trading Jordan Addison. I was just kind of going through my thought process here and just wondering, could it be in the cards if they don't want to trade or if they don't want to pay him, T. Higgins-esque money? Maybe they could be calling some teams. We heard the Bills interested. Maybe the Patriots could have been interested. But, hey, I won't talk about trading Jordan Addison anymore until we get a real rumor about that being the case. But, hey, if you guys want to be featured on the next time we do this on a show, comment your thoughts on the Vikings to be featured in the next video. Could be negative. If you guys want something we could do better here on the channel, please let your thoughts be known down below in the comment section. Any feedback is good feedback. So if you guys could, comment your thoughts on the Vikings to be featured in the next video. We'll see you guys next time. As always, go Vikes. All righty. Appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. Going to start doing that a little more, just grabbing comments from videos and just chopping it up. J.J. McCarthy's wife or girlfriend is the luckiest person in the world. That's crazy out of you, Cohen. That's crazy. Addison and our first for both seconds. Wouldn't hate that, Corey. Yeah, but I would still rather not trade Addison. I just want to see this core next year of Addison, Jefferson, Hockenson, all of them. If you guys could, let me ask you guys this. Predict the Vikings record for next season. I got them going 11-6 and winning a playoff game. Obviously, the draft might change that if they get a guy I really like in the first round, but I think I'm going to stick with that for right now. Vikings go 11-6, win a playoff game next season. I think that's where I'm going to keep my record prediction at. But we're going to dive into a mailbag here in about 2 minutes. So if you guys got a question for me, hashtag Vikings or Super Chat to get up on today's show. Would really appreciate if you guys got down there, asked any question around the Vikes or a hot take you have. Anything is on the table. As remember saying 12-5, TKS going 15-1. The Vikings' worst case scenario is always 7-5. Assume you mean 7-10 on that. Lee Hefner saying 13-4. That's the pick. I was actually saying this. I was talking with Harrison Graham, our Bears host today. We're both in agreement that I think the floor and ceiling for the division, I think it's going to be the worst team's going to win 7 games and the best team's going to win 12. Now, does that mean last year where the Vikings won 14, the Lions won 15 games? I honestly think the division could be better even if the win total is not as high. I just think it's going to be a very, very competitive division, and it's going to be tough to stack wins, but we'll see what the Vikings decide to do. But again, last call. If you guys could get those questions in there, hashtag Vikings in the live chat right now. We would really appreciate if you guys ask anything around your Minnesota Vikings, whatever it is. Please get those thoughts down below. Hashtag Vikings or Super Chat to get up on the show today. Appreciate if you guys could do so. Also put the live poll as what's the biggest need on the Vikings roster? 52% say cornerback. How many years till we see the dance? Divisional win isn't the goal, brother. Yeah, obviously winning the wild card game, getting to divisional is not the goal, but you got to start somewhere. I'm going to go not next year, but the year after. I think that's going to be the best Vikings season under the McCarthy era. How good will it be? We'll have to wait and find out, but I also think next year is going to be very special as well. Is it Super Bowl special? Who knows? A lot of good teams in the NFC. Could it be NFC Championship special? I think that's on the table. Love the honesty. No problem, Tommy Wood. Love you for tuning in. Cohen B, good question. Appreciate you. Also like that Flores question. If you could add hashtag Vikings to that, that'd be great. Whose ceiling is higher between Nolan and Harmon? I got to go Walter Nolan. I think Derek Harmon is a way higher. I say that, but then if Derek Harmon he gets better at finishing at the D tackle spot, he's going to be a stud. Appreciate you, Cohen, for getting that in there. Thank you. Thank you. Cohen B, shout out to you, Brody. As we did have Paul come in with $1 super chat while we were in that last cut. Thank you so much, Paul. You sent the winking face. Shout out to you, Paul. If everybody could, give me a skull Paul down below in the comment section. Show him some love. But mailbag coming up here in a couple of minutes. Just get those questions in their last call for today's live show. Tommy Wood, I think for the Vikes to get to the next level, man, it's just McCarthy. Like, let me ask you guys this. Close your eyes and imagine this roster with Joe Burrow on it. We're all saying we should win the Super Bowl. It's going to come down to McCarthy. Like, I don't really think there's, like, maybe, getting another cornerback too. That'd be nice. Getting another, defensive tackle, getting another left guard. Like, those are just margin moves. Like, I think the biggest needle mover that we should all be looking out for is, one, Kevin O'Connell being able to run the ball, but main one is just McCarthy. Is he able to take that next step? Appreciate you, John Corey. Eric LaPointe, what's going on, man? Thank you so much for tuning in today. Shout out to you, Eric. But I say we dive into this mailbag here. Last call, if you guys want to send in a super chat, greatly appreciated. If not, no worries. But hashtag Vikings in the live chat, and let's dive on into it. What's going on, everybody? It's mailbag time here on the channel where I answer all of your guys' questions around the Minnesota Vikings. But before we do so, I got something for you guys. Predict the Vikings record for next season. My record prediction right now is 11-6 and a wild card victory for the Minnesota Vikings. It'll obviously change after the draft, but as it stands right now, I'm going to go 11-6. Vikings win a playoff game in the first year with J.J. McCarthy starting. All right, let's dive into the mailbag here. Corey Miller coming in. Walter Nolan or Derek Harmon if they're both on the board at 24? Tough question to start off here, Corey. I'm going to lean Derek Harmon. Either of these guys I would be thrilled with. I'll just say that. It's a great defensive tackle draft, great upside on a lot of these guys, and also incredible depth. But if I had to pick one, I think it would be Derek Harmon. Dude's a freak, and if he just finishes, or if he just gets better at his finishing ability, I think he could really be a game wrecker at the interior. He's also just a little bigger than Walter Nolan. Dane Brugler had actually Derek Harmon ahead of Kenneth Grant, so there's a lot of love for him. Will even Harmon or Nolan be on the board at 24? Who knows? But if both of them are, I don't think the Vikings should trade back. You stick and pick. And, if Flores likes Nolan more than Harmon, you go with Nolan. But personally for me, I think I'll draft Derek Harmon. John Corey, what's going on, man? How's Darisaul's rehab going? Pretty good. According to Kevin O'Connell, he talked at the scouting combine. He said he is ahead of schedule. He's looking good. And, most of the time when these guys get asked, like, oh, how's this guy doing coming off a, major injury like Darisaul suffered, they're always like, oh, he's ahead of schedule. He's looking good. But we won't really know how Darisaul is doing until, like, that week one, injury report, or honestly training camp. We'll get a probably good look there. But Kevin O'Connell saying it's all good, so I'm going to take his word for it. And I think Darisaul will be starting for the Vikings week 1 next season. Remember Montana, next question. How you doing? Hashtag Vikings. How many years until we reach a Super Bowl with JJ? I got to look into the crystal ball here, figure this one out. Could be next year, if I'm being honest. I know it sounds crazy to say first year the Vikings can make a Super Bowl with JJ, but I think the Vikings are going to be like the San Francisco 49ers back in 2023. We had Brock Purdy on that rookie deal. You have a stacked team around him. It just comes down to that quarterback and that coaching staff getting the best out of that young quarterback. But I'm going to take a quote from Joe Burrow here. When Burrow said, oh, how long is the Super Bowl window with you on the Bengals? He says, as long as I'm on the Bengals. I think the same thing is going to be said for J.J. McCarthy. But I do think, ideally, you would have the best team around him when he is on that rookie contract. So hopefully the next 3 to 5 years will McCarthy still on that rookie deal. But remember, appreciate your comment. Cohen B coming in saying, hashtag Vikings, is Flores going to leave after this season? I do think there's a chance because I think this Vikings defense is going to be ridiculous yet again. And I think people are just going to start realizing, like, with how unique his system is and, just what a creative mind he is. And especially if a guy like Aaron Glenn works out for the New York Jets. Defensive-minded guy coming from an offensive culture in Detroit. Like, if he turns the Jets around, I could see somebody taking a chance on Flores. Will it be after this season? I hope not. But again, like, what if the Vikings have like a ridiculous, like, old school Ravens defense, or that one Bears defense from when they had Khalil Mack? I think it was like 2017, 2018. Like, if they have a year like that where it's like undisputed the best defense in the league, and like Flores is getting a lot of love for it, he'll definitely get some interviews this next cycle. I mean, he already did this past one. So honestly, if I had to give a percentage, I say it's 50-50 that next season that Flores is the defensive coordinator. But also, if you would have asked me this, heading into the last couple of weeks of the season, I would have said Flores is for sure gone, and then he was shockingly still the DC here. So kind of 50-50 there, but Cohen, shout out to you, Brody. Purple Papa coming in. Will the Vikings win 10 games, more or less? I'm taking the more. I think this team won 14 games last season without Kirsten Darrisaw. You're adding, think about it, Darrisaw, Fries, Hargrave, Allen, Kelly. Those are 5 studs, plus some draft picks, plus another year just being familiar with Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores on both sides of the ball. But it all comes down to number 9. It comes down to J.J. McCarthy. And if he ends up popping, if he ends up being a top 12 quarterback from day one, this team will be legit. They're going to be a problem. I think people overdo it's a head coach quarterback league, which, at the end of the day, it is 110%. But also the job of the rest of the team is to make the quarterback's life easier. And I think J.J. McCarthy is going to have one of the easier jobs in the NFL this upcoming season. But speaking about X factors, which J.J. McCarthy is, you guys let me know. Who is the biggest X factor on the Vikings for next season? I'll add a note here. Can't say J.J. McCarthy. So if I had to answer this, put myself on the spot, besides J.J. McCarthy, who's the biggest X factor. Excuse me. I'm going to go Brian O'Neill as my biggest X factor. No, take that back. Byron Murphy Jr. That's going to be my biggest X factor for next season. We'll dive into more questions here in a second, but first, got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Game Time. And take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Now, Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Now, my favorite feature of the Game Time app is their all-in pricing, and this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout, and also their views from your seat feature. It gets you a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you even buy. So if you guys are trying to go to a Wild game or maybe a Minnesota Timberwolves playoff game at home in Minneapolis, Game Time is a great app to use to buy a ticket. You guys can also see the views from your seat right in the app, and also the all-in pricing is fantastic, so you don't get blasted with the fees at the last second before you try to check out. But take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Got that link for you guys in the comments and description of today's show. David Cushmore coming to the $5 super chat. Appreciate you. Saying, do you pick Randy Moss in the top 5 picks for the Vikings? In terms of best Vikings draft picks of all time, I think so. Think that's what you're getting at here. 100%. I think he's number 1. It's either him or Jefferson. Like, you got Randy Moss. I think he was picked 21, Jefferson 22. I mean, that's just fantastic stuff. I also was throwing out a sleeper pick. Even though he caused a lot of commotion during his last couple years in Minnesota, Stephon Diggs. Him being a 5th-round pick is incredible. Probably one of the best value picks the Vikings have had in recent memory. So I like the Diggs idea. I like the, Moss pick. I like the Jefferson one. Can't really think of any more. Like John Randall, UDFA, Adam Thielen, UDFA. But Randy Moss, for me, would be the best pick in Vikings franchise history. Harvey Buxton, Vikings fan from across the pond. What's going on? Hashtag Vikings. Do we trade Addison? And would you need more than a first-round pick for him? I think a first would get it done, for a trade for Addison, considering the team trading for him would have to take on his contract and then probably have to extend him. Yeah, I think a first-round pick is enough. Would I do it for a first this year? No, because I think the Vikings are viewing this next season as like, hey, we're going all in. We're going to ride out with J.J. McCarthy. We're just going to kind of see what happens. So maybe it's a year after. I would consider it a little bit, but only thought process on trading Addison is, do the Vikings plan on extending him? And maybe they don't have an answer for that yet. Maybe they're going to try to figure it out, during the season if Addison takes another step. But I also wonder if the Vikings would put some faith in Jefferson being like, listen, we could draft a wide receiver in the 4th, and he could be a solid wide receiver too next to Jefferson just because he makes everybody's life around them easier. Would I do it for a first-round pick? Not right now, but I would be curious to hear like Quasi's answer on this where it's like, hey, if somebody offered you the 25th pick for Jordan Addison this upcoming year, would you take it? I would probably guess he would say no, but it would definitely be a long conversation for that front office. Cohen B, if we get a good guard, then do we have a weakness on offense? I don't think we do. And I don't even want to call left guard a total weakness just yet. I just think it's just an unknown right now. Just because Blake Brandel, it could be Michael Juergens. What if it's Walter Rouse stepping in there? Like, you don't really know who's going to play at left guard, but if you would, draft like a Donovan Jackson, Gray Zabel, Tyler Booker, like there's no position group that you feel bad about. Like even wide receiver 3, you feel great. Rondell Moore, Jalen Naylor, the tight end 2 with Josh Oliver. Like every position is squared off, and I hate saying it over and over again, but comes down to J.J. McCarthy. Minnesota Wild fan, what's going on? You should give us your top 10 draft picks this year. You should give us your top 10 draft picks this year. Oh, like me give my top 10 draft picks. Okay, I could get you guys 10. Nicky Manwari, number 1. Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon, Gray Zabel, Tyler Booker. Throw a flyer out there. Colston Loveland. Trying to think who else here. Malachi Starks. Siobhan Ravel Jr. I'll go Maxwell Hairston to close that out. Yeah, appreciate that, though. Shout out to you, Minnesota Wild fan. Brown Man coming in with the next one. I'm hearing the Bills are favorites to get Addison if we were to trade him. What would you think we could get from the Bills if that were to happen? Probably just a first-round pick. I think it would be as simple as that. Maybe a first and 4th, and the Vikings give Addison and a 5th back. Maybe that could be the situation. But listen, the Vikings trading Jordan Addison rumors, they're just rumors. There's really no real legs behind these. That's why I think it's incredibly unlikely that it ends up going down. But I would assume you could get a 1st and a 5th. Maybe you have to give back, or a 1st and a 4th, and you give Addison and a 5th. Or maybe it's just a 1st straight up. Maybe it's a 2nd and 3rd. But somewhere around that amount of draft capital should be able to get it done. Corey Miller, #Vikings. Would you rather have a safety, corner, or DT for the first pick? I think it's just BPA. Like, I don't really have a good answer. I would lean defensive tackle if I just had to pick one. But whatever prospect you think's the best. Like, honestly, this question, that's what Quasi should be asking Brian Flores. Hey, Flores, if we have a safety, corner, defensive tackle there that we all have the same grade on, let's just say it's like Eamon Worry, Kenneth Grant, like, Siobhan Ravel Jr., like, if they all have the same grade, I'm curious to see what Flores would have to say. I would lean defensive tackle on that one, but we'll have to wait and see what happens on draft night. Wild fan, back again, saying, what do you think the Vikings record would be this year? 11-6. That's what I'm going to stick with. I don't think it's going to be another 14-win season. That's just a lot of wins in the NFL. So I'll go 11-6. I'm going to stick with that for until at least after the NFL draft. Honestly, knowing myself, I'll probably have the Vikings going 17-0 once week 1 rolls around of next season. But if you guys made it to the end of today's mailbag, first off, I appreciate you. And if you guys could, hit me with a skull down below. See you guys next time. As always, Skull Vikes. All righty. We appreciate all of you guys tuning in today to the live show. We are going to sign off out of here. We'll be live next Wednesday, and then we'll also be live for the NFL Draft next Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it's going to be a ton of fun. Stay tuned for all of it. But Yeah, we're going to get on out of here. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Shout out to Dylan on the ones and twos today. Oh yeah, we'll be bringing it, Cohen. Don't worry about it. But shout out to you guys for tuning in, man. You guys are the best fans in the world. See you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes.